fact that we are talking of an investment plan spread out in the next 40 years. And by being distributed this way, it allows the economy to have a sustainable recuperation margin. But we need to understand that this is not a matter of lack of economical resources, because Mexico has never in its record history been so rich, wealthy, and technological advanced as it's now. So what we infer from here is that the real issue has been clarified, avoided by the nation and private corporations who are in control of the 90% of Mexican wealth. The real problem is not the lack of economical and technological resources, but how the resources are distributed among the human population, allow the richest people to enjoy of a morbid opulence that borders what we consider a crime, hanging behind the mask of rampant and savage capitalism, while there are billions of people who live in absolute poverty and misery all around the world. At this point, we demand that such elites face their responsibility related to such perpetual injustice and inequalities, unless, of course, they consider themselves as a superior, not sympathetic, and diverse species to the one that we all belong to, the human race. Thank you.
Member 2 and the circumstances of the opponent side.
In their constructive speech, the opponent team mentioned that the developed countries had the obligation to help all those countries that are affected by nations of the Annex I. As you said, these countries have the best economies in the world, but this doesn't mean that they will not be directly affected. Obviously, the GDPs of these countries will lower in a significant way, and it will be even worse if we consider that we are in a global economical crisis. So, the big industries that make part of the countries of the Annex I will suffer a down in their production that this will lead us to cut workers' benefits, and moreover, they might to fire personnel, and subsequently rise the unemployment rate. To avoid these social and economical problems, it will be cheaper and easier to create policies for the reduction of greenhouse effect causing gases. On the other hand, throughout history, we can see that during industrializations of the developed country, the air gets contaminated due to massive burning of fossil fuels, such as petroleum and mineral coal. Nevertheless, this was an important and fundamental process because this led to the creation of new and sophisticated technologies that has helped the environment of society. This was such an important stage in history of humanity, and thanks to it, we reached the point in which we are right now. But it was necessary and very useful because it gave us the foundations to what we know today as civilization. Besides, the prevention designs will allow us to overcome this full consumption stage because this process can be avoided as a model in order to the developing countries be aware of the mistakes made by the countries of the Annex I in order to don't make them again. And by this, with a long-term prevention project to diminish the rate of pollution without diminishing the index of development on third world countries, neither their economical growth. If the countries of Annex I help the different developing countries for adaptation to global warming consequences, many crises will appear. So much for the collaborator as for the receptor of the economical aid, because the contributing country will suffer a deficit on its GDP, and the receptor country will suffer many social and corruption problems because of the amount of resources that will get into the country. And we cannot leave into aside that there is a big chance that we may lose all our invest money, just like happened in the adaptation of New Orleans to Hurricane Katrina. This shows us, all the humanity, that adaptation is not easy, and in some cases, it's near to impossible. Thank you.
En este momento los dos equipos se van a tomar un tiempo para hacer sus preguntas y 2 minutos para responder. Time for the second crossfire. Let me remind you that you have 30 seconds for the question and 2 minutes for the answer. Member of the affirmative side, will you address your question to the opponent team, please?
In your oral speech, you mentioned that a cheaper way will be to create policy on the reduction of cases. Are other trades such as the theater protocol considered a failure due to the lack of compromise of the countries that signed in reducing the emission of such lethal gases? Also, if they would have asked you during the Industrial Revolution that the price that humans had to pay was the destruction of the earth and humankind, would you and your partner have accepted it?
With mitigation, climate change will not increase and make suffer the human being. So the threat is not the earth destruction. I will consider to prevent the evolution of the global warming and start to mitigate it. Right now, we cannot waste more time on fictitious ideas like adaptation. We have to act.
Opponent side, Andres Jose Sanchez, will you address your question to the affirmative team, please? You have 30 seconds.
When you refer to adaptation, you are not taking into account that climate change is an imminent success, and in 4 years, it will be too late to be ready. We need an action plan right now. And if the adaptation plan starts, the time will not be enough to finish in the right moment. Don't you think that it's better to reduce greenhouse gases in order to win more time and to be ready when disasters come?
Okay, we are not against prevention, but we think that in order to solve this problem, we also need to give green light to adapting plan and the investments required for it. And the plan that we solve, we can produce in the first year, because it's a very good plan. In the first year, we can put on and this plan can finish.
Will the first member of both teams direct your summary speeches? You have 2 minutes to organize it. Van a hacer su resumen, el último, y se van a tomar 2 minutos para organizarlo. Member of the affirmative team, please your turn.
Climate change is already happening, and it represents one of the greatest social, environmental, and economic threats facing the planet. So this is why we keep insisting that it is an obligation for developed countries to help undeveloped countries in their adaptation to climate change. People have always adapted